For more than a decade, the world has watched in silence as one of Hollywood's most famous fathers and his only daughter drifted further apart. Their separation has become one of modern entertainment's most haunting mysteries, especially because it began with a fairy tale romance that seemed to prove love could conquer everything. Now, the silence has finally been broken through the quiet decisions of a young woman who refuses to be defined by her surname. Suri Noel, once known to the world as Suri Cruz, grew up in a life shaped by fame, secrecy, and a powerful religious institution. At 19, she is no longer speaking in headlines, she's speaking with her choices. And those choices have stunned anyone who remembers the smiling family that once posed on red carpets as if they were a picture-perfect dream. A love story that looked like a movie. When Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise met in 2005, their story immediately felt like a Hollywood script. Katie was 26, already famous from Dawson's Creek, and still carrying the bright innocence of her small-town girl image. Tom Cruise, at 43, was an established superstar, an icon of modern cinema. Years earlier, Katie had confessed to a magazine that she dreamed of marrying him. It sounded like a teenage fantasy, until it became real. Cruise reportedly told friends he would marry her, and within weeks, the couple became inseparable. Their romance unfolded in public with an intensity that fascinated fans. Their chemistry seemed unstoppable, and Tom's famous Oprah moment, jumping on the couch shouting, "I'm in love," became the symbol of a man who had finally found what he wanted. In April 2006, their daughter Suri was born, and Cruise called her birth the happiest day of his life. The wedding, the church, and the beginning of isolation. Suri's birth was steeped in the beliefs of Scientology, a religion that would soon define the family's private life. Katie, raised Catholic, found herself navigating a world she did not fully understand. Tom insisted on Scientology customs like silent birth, where no one speaks during delivery. He even purchased a sonogram machine to track the pregnancy himself. The couple married in November 2006 at the lavish Odescalchi Castle in Italy, spending millions on a ceremony that looked like a fairy tale. The guest list included Hollywood royalty, but behind the glamour, Katie's parents grew increasingly concerned. As devout Catholics, they worried about the influence of Scientology and the secrecy that surrounded it. They began visiting less often, unsure how to reconnect with their daughter. What looked like a dream was quietly becoming a life governed by rules and isolation. The cracks begin to show. By 2007, Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes appeared untouchable. They were the perfect Hollywood family: red carpets, private jets, and endless magazine covers. Yet, beneath the surface, the marriage was already straining. Katie was rarely seen alone. Whenever she stepped out, she was accompanied by members of Tom's inner circle, many of whom were connected to Scientology. They seemed to watch her constantly, as if recording every moment. Friends noticed her growing distance, and she began to speak in rehearsed phrases, repeating the same compliments about Tom. It was as if her voice had been replaced by a script. Meanwhile, Tom grew more deeply involved with Scientology, acting as its public ambassador and defender. Katie, meanwhile, began to feel trapped by the church's influence and the control it exerted over her life and her daughter's future. The quiet breakdown. As the years passed, Katie quietly began to pull away. She stopped attending some Scientology events and started reconnecting with old friends. She spent more time in New York and less time in Hollywood. By 2010, rumors were spreading that she felt trapped and unhappy. Friends described her as withdrawn, like someone living in constant caution. Behind the scenes, she was preparing for something monumental. She began gathering information, changing her phones, and replacing staff she suspected of reporting to Tom's circle. The cracks in the marriage became impossible to hide, and her public smiles grew more strained. She still held Suri's hand tightly in public, as if protecting her from a world she could no longer trust. By 2011, the once perfect image had shifted into something more complicated, one that hinted at fear, isolation, and the need for escape. The divorce that shocked Hollywood. On June 29, 2012, Katie Holmes filed for divorce, shocking the world. The timing was deliberate, just days before Tom's 50th birthday. To outsiders, it looked like a sudden breakup. But for Katie, it was a rescue mission. She had planned every detail carefully, aware that she was being watched. She switched phones, hired new security, and moved with the precision of someone escaping a controlling environment. Her father, lawyer Martin Holmes, helped orchestrate the legal strategy. Katie chose New York as her battleground, knowing the state's laws favored the parent seeking sole custody. Tom learned about the divorce through the same headlines as everyone else, losing control over the one thing he had always controlled: his life. Court documents revealed Katie's motive: protection. She wanted full custody of Suri and authority over her schooling, medical care, and religion. Her fear was not just Tom, but the church. The flight to New York. The divorce was finalized within 11 days. Tom agreed to pay $400,000 a year in child support until Suri turned 18, plus additional expenses. But money wasn't Katie's goal. She wanted distance: physical, legal, and spiritual. The day after the settlement, Katie and Suri disappeared from Los Angeles. They resurfaced in New York, walking hand in hand through Chelsea without the entourage, without the cameras, without the guards. For the first time in years, Katie looked like herself, tired but free. For Suri, freedom came with a new silence. The father who once held her on red carpets was gone. Not in anger, not in conflict, but simply absent. The world watched as a new chapter began, one that neither Hollywood nor Scientology could script. The missing years. After the divorce, Tom Cruise and Suri's lives split completely. In 2013, during a lawsuit deposition, Tom admitted that Katie's decision to leave was partially to protect Suri from Scientology. It was the closest he ever came to acknowledging the distance. Reports soon emerged that he had seen Suri only once since the divorce, in a private meeting. After that, there were no confirmed sightings, no photos, no visits. For over a decade, the father who could command the world's attention remained unable to find a way back into his daughter's life. Meanwhile, Katie focused on building a normal childhood for Suri. She enrolled her in private school, took her to parks, dance classes, and everyday activities. Suri grew into a grounded and thoughtful young woman, but she never publicly discussed her father. The silence remained. A new identity. By 2021, Suri had become her own person. She attended New York's LaGuardia High School, where she acted, sang, and directed short films. But her most telling choice came during her senior year musical. The program listed her not as Suri Cruz, but as Suri Noel, her mother's middle name. It was a quiet declaration of independence. In 2024, she graduated under the same name, with Tom absent from the ceremony. He was thousands of miles away, attending a Taylor Swift concert in London. Meanwhile, Katie was in New York, watching her daughter with pride. Later that summer, Suri enrolled at Carnegie Mellon University, studying fashion. Katie helped her move into the dorm herself. No cameras, no entourage, just a mother and daughter living a life outside the spotlight. The heartbreak behind the headlines. In October 2025, Suri was spotted sitting on a New York doorstep, head in hands. Katie arrived moments later, comforting her like any mother. To most, it looked like an ordinary scene. But for those who know their story, it symbolized the years of dependence and love that have held them together since the divorce. At 19, Suri is building a life separate from her father. She writes music, studies fashion, and explores her identity, quietly, without the weight of Hollywood. Tom continues to soar professionally, planning to film scenes in outer space with NASA and SpaceX. But the distance between father and daughter remains the one gap he may never close. Katie speaks of Suri with pride and gratitude, focusing on her daughter's strength. Yet the silent absence of Tom Cruise remains a haunting reminder of the cost of fame. Conclusion. Can silence ever be healed? For 19 years, the world has watched this family story unfold like a film without an ending. A superstar father and his daughter drifted apart in silence until Suri finally chose to write her own script. She is no longer Suri Cruz. She is Suri Noel, a young woman building a life outside the shadow of fame. The question now is whether time can heal what silence created. Can a father who once seemed invincible bridge the distance and reclaim his daughter's love? Or is this separation permanent, an unspoken consequence of power, control, and secrecy? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, Suri Noel has already made her choice, and her choice is to live her life on her own terms.